Hi everybody, I'm Marty Adler. Today I want to talk about one of the most confusing rules in all of harness racing. I've had phone calls, text messages, emails from people asking me, please try to explain the most confusing pylon rule. Well, before there were pylons, there was the hub rail, made out of wood, circles the track, and the purpose of the hub rail was to keep horses, drivers, and sulkies on the racing track. The trouble with the hub rail, it was made out of wood, and if you landed on it, you could hurt yourself and maybe do injury to yourself, or even worse, do injury to your horse. And everybody knows it's worse to do injury to your horse. I mean, you'll feed your horse before you feed yourself. That's a whole nother story. And why does a horse go over the hub rail? Well, for one thing, a horse could be sore somewhere, and it veers away from its soreness, and it could veer over the hub rail. Or a horse is forced over the hub rail by an interference call. Or the horse could make a break and go over the hub rail. Or the horse could have an equipment malfunction and go over the hub rail. So a few years ago, the harness racing industry in North America took a page from the harness racing industry in Europe and came up with the pylon. Now the pylon is a tube that's made out of styrofoam, about 2 inches tall. It's 2 inches perhaps in diameter, and it's placed in the ground on a 30-degree angle so that you have to stay outside that pylon. Going inside the pylon could give you an unfair advantage. Now let me just show you. Here is a look at the hub rail going around a track, and you can see the finish line because that will come into play. That's the hub rail. You land on that, you're going to hurt yourself. And there's nowhere to go once a horse does veer to the inside or is forced to the inside. But with the pylons, and they're placed 40 feet apart on the turns, 60 feet apart in the straightaways, you at least have somewhere to go if a horse veers in for one reason or another. So there's the difference. Now, before I get into the rule, what constitutes going inside a pylon? Well, here's our pylon on the 30-degree angle. Here's the wheel of the sulky, and you'll notice that the sulky stays away from that pylon. You have to go inside the pylon. This is not inside the pylon. Running over the pylon is not going inside the pylon, either here, here, or here. But take a look down here. If you happen to be touching this pylon, it's going to move like that. If it moves like that, and the judges take a look at that, you're not inside a pylon. You have to clear that pylon, go by the pylon on the inside, and that pylon cannot move for you to be deemed having been inside a pylon. Okay? That's the first thing you have to know. The second thing you have to know is, what does lapped on at the wire mean? Well, it doesn't matter if you finish first, second, third, or anywhere in the race. Once you cross the wire and you are lapped on, it comes into play. Now, lapped on, the nose of the horse behind you has to touch any part of the rump of your nose, not the driver, but not the rump of the driver, the rump of the horse, anywhere on that horse's body, and this horse is lapped on. If this horse causes an infraction, this comes into play. Are you lapped on or are you not lapped on? Lapped on, not lapped on. Any part. Okay, now let's get to the rule. If in the duration of a race you go inside of one pylon, that's not an infraction. Oh, you may get a call from the judges saying, look you went inside one pylon. Don't do it again. You're a bad boy. You're not going to get fined, but don't do it again. If you go inside 2 consecutive pylons, that is giving you an unfair advantage because you cut the circumference of the mile. That is unfair. So once you cross the wire, if you are lapped on after going inside of 2 consecutive pylons, you are going to be placed behind any horse that laps you, and all horses that lap you. But if there are no horses that lap you when you cross the wire, you're okay. And if you go inside of 3 consecutive pylons, automatically you are going to be placed last. That's how the pylon rule works.